Hey there, welcome to SharkCast podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the legends at the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. And we drink our coffee from Mr. Paisley's. Bit of a, I won't reveal what time we're recording this, but Mr. Paisley's coffee is always something very friendly. And on the other end of this line, it's his show, catching up with Kieran over coffee about Cronulla. He is a man who sweats long and hard on this club that we all love. But on the weekend, it was a bit less for him because it was a 40-point win, 50 points in the can. Titans can't win the comp. Kieran Fraser, hello. How are you, man of strong eardrums? How are you?
That probably did not come through very loudly, but my goodness, I am inspired to shave my head and start walking around town and acting like Braden Trindle, because that was one of the most insane performances I've ever seen from him. Now, we have been here before. We have seen him pull these sort of performances out of the hat. The test will be against Penrith this week. Let's see how it goes. But for now, I think we should enjoy the new Michael Jordan in the Shire, and I think we should all shave our heads. I saw you're going to do it, right? So I'm going to hold you accountable for that, Sam.
Yeah, that for budding podcasters, social people, or people who are experienced like I am, I should have known better. Don't say stuff that you're not going to, go through with. I got crazy and I'm going to shave my head. Hey, it's early in the week. I do need a haircut, so we'll see how far it goes. I'm a little concerned with you saying, let's all cut our hair and act like Braden Trindle. I guess you're referring to like Chip and Chase and kicks and 40-20, well, right?
I just think it's going to be a new philosophy in life. Like, what would Braden Trindle do? Like, if he can keep that performance up, like every decision that I'm going to walk into now, I'm going to ask myself, what would he do? And hopefully it's all going to be like the weekend where he takes every single right decision, because some of those tries that he set up, and the one in particular for Nico, where Nico went through, was absolutely amazing and just real class. So, again, we speak on this podcast a lot, and sorry about my voice. I've got a bit of an infection at the moment. But we speak about on this podcast about players needing to step up and, go to that next level. And Braden's been on the cusp of that for a few years. And a lot of people have kind of said, well, for the Sharks to go to the next level, someone else in the spine needs to step up. And he certainly did that on the weekend. That was one hell of a performance.
Yeah, it really was. And we'll get into it, of course, as well as all the other players that played. It has to be said from the outset, and I'm sorry to be a downer, but the Titans were no good. Like, I saw it in the flesh from high up, and I saw it on replays, as everyone else did. They were no good. They didn't turn up. They didn't play as a team. They were terrible. Now, Sharks of a year or two ago would have probably just gone, okay, cool, we're going to win 22-8 or whatever. But they went on with it, and they got on with it really quick. I think, what was it, 36-38 nil at halftime. Fantastic stuff. And second half, less points, but aside from sort of a 15-minute period, they really dominated. And a perfect way to start the year. Now, it does put a lot of pressure on them as externally as far as expectations. We will get to the big test this week later on, but yeah, fantastic effort. Great atmosphere down there, Kieran. There was a hint of a storm coming. It never came, thankfully. And I think the capacity was maybe a couple of hundred off. Is that right? Maybe about 1,000 off being a sold-out game. But it was really fun, good atmosphere, quite animated, quite vocal, which you and I like. And, they got a marching band pre-game I think you'll love. It's like you're in New Orleans or something, a marching band going in the crowd on the field, playing just very upbeat tunes. That was kind of cool. So whoever's in charge of that, well done. And on the field, yeah, fantastic stuff. And you can see from the outset, they were on. Let's talk about some players. And there's no need to skip anyone that you don't want to skip, Kieran, but Will Kennedy at the back, just going in number order. Aside from a couple of little things, I thought he was terrific.
Again, one of those performances from Will that you look at and you sort of say, well, do we let this guy go or do we keep him? Because if he plays like that, you want to keep him, right? And again, the combinations and the time that he spent with the other members of the spine, it looked like a really fluid and connected performance compared to the tight ends who looked all over the shop, who they looked like they'd never met each other before. But I thought Will was strong. I thought it was one of those games where he produced as expected. I guess my question, Sam, and I didn't see this because I think the Jets had a bye, but how is Ison going with his injury? Because I know he missed some preseason stuff, but in my head, I'm just thinking like for that potential 6-man bench and pressure on Will, where are we at behind Will in the depth chart?
I'm led to believe he wouldn't have been picked this week if they were playing, but I don't think it's anything intense. They're just very careful about getting him back to 100% before he plays. They're not interested in 90%. They want 100%. I think when the Jets play next, he'll be up for selection, whether he plays or not. I can't tell you right now, but asking around town on Saturday, there was no negativity. It was more just like, he just needs a bit of time. But I don't think you'll see him on that bench until he plays 10 to 15 cup games. So who knows when that'll be.
That's a long way away. But I guess my point with that is it's still like Will has a mortgage on that jersey and he's not giving it up anytime soon. And if he produces like that, we're going to probably find ourselves in that same situation as last year where we start saying what's happening with Will's contract, right? So it's a good place to be if he's delivering and performing. But even from his perspective, he took a big pay cut for this season. So we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. But there's going to be those storylines, Sam. And
the interesting thing is, if he keeps playing like that every week, then the Perth Bears, maybe not the Perth Bears, I think they got a few fullbacks, but PNG is going to come knocking. And there's a few stories on the weekend about how alluring their contracts are with no tax and that kind of thing. So then it would be interesting if Cronulla just go to PNG, or maybe they need a fullback and maybe there's no one else on the market or in their price range that they want, and maybe they need to keep him again, and maybe PNG go, no, we want him, and there's some sort of bidding war. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but
then you'd still need a spot to be for 27 because PNG is not until 28. So
yes.
It's going to be an interesting situation, right? Because I think someone was saying that a $750,000 player playing for PNG is the equivalent of the highest paid player today when you take in the tax considerations.
It's like
so if he goes over there
or something.
Yeah, if he goes over like 500,000 or whatever the magical number is, that's the equivalent of probably $1 million over here or just under, right? So I'm glad I'm not doing the contracts at the Sharks at the moment because this would be a really tough situation.
Yeah, as a fan, I'll be pretty annoyed if, for whatever reason, we have to let him go because we can't compete with, for example, a PNG, and then whoever we've got replacing him isn't ready or isn't as good. I think that'll be pretty annoying as a fan. We're a long way away from all that kind of stuff. Your favorite player, pretty much your fourth favorite human, I will say fifth favorite human in life. I'll throw myself in there as well. Sione Katoa. Near man of the match performance. He ran for almost 200 meters, scored a handsome try. And what'd you make of him? I thought he was brilliant.
Another guy who you know exactly what to expect when he plays, and he looked great. I think he was under a bit of an injury cloud. There were some rumors during the week that he might not play even before kickoff. I think like 24 hours before it, there were people saying there was a chance that he wasn't going to play. He didn't look like he was under any concerns, right? And again, he was bumping and doing his little jigs and getting across the field. And to your point about saying things on podcasts that you shouldn't say,
yes,
I'm going to throw one out there. He's off contract with us, right? And I hope he stays. I love him. He's one of my favorite players. If we win a grand final this year, I will get a Tongan fisherman tattoo.
Okay. Speaking of things that we're not supposed to say on podcasts, I will do it too, for real, but it'll be kind of small, but I'll do it too.
And I don't know what it will look like if he's in a Sharks jersey and fishing. We'll get creative with it, but I will get some sort of ridiculous Sione Katoa tattoo to celebrate this milestone if we can get across the line this year. So might even do it with a shaved head too. Why not?
Yeah. Thankfully, round one, all this.
Everyone's going to forget this by the end of the year.
No, they won't forget. Don't worry about that. Another gentleman who was terrific, beyond terrific. And the storylines continue for the first three guys. And it's Jesse Ramian. Unbelievable performance.
And I've seen Jesse around, like, from a distance. But during the week, I was actually standing next to him. And the presence of that human, like, he is an out and out athlete. Like when I was looking at him and like all the proportions are just, he's like a different human to the rest of us, right? And he is so big, he is so fast, and on the weekend he was so aggressive. And then that one of those tries that he got down was just out of pure strength. And it's so great to see him like that. I think he's been a guy who copped a lot of criticism last year. But if you go back the year before that, I think he was going with Bradman Best for that origin spot, and Jesse was killing it at the time. So I am shocked that he is not getting chased by more clubs. I can't understand.
He will be if he plays like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, from a Sharks perspective and a salary cap perspective, we can't keep them all, as we always say. But
no,
if he plays like that every week, he's desperate to stay at the club, and the club should be desperate to keep him if he puts in performances like that. He was so strong, so fast, and like he just looks so fit in person. Like he looks lean, and just you look at him and you go, this guy's going to have a big year.
Yeah, for sure. And I always go back to the fact that Raymond at his worst, he's about a 6 out of 10. At his best, like on the weekend, he was almost a 9.5, you'd think. I'm not saying you re-sign guys who are 6 out of 10, but it's never a disaster with him. And our friend Gary pointed out something on the weekend about he's our friend, about a player we'll talk about soon. But he was sort of referencing the worst Sharks player on the field on the weekend, and people were giving that player some stick, and rightly, wrongly so, whatever. But he said someone's going to stick out when everyone's playing so good and one of them's a tiny bit off. Someone's going to stick out. It doesn't mean it's disaster zones. And that, for me, last year was Ramian, because everyone was really, really good. And Ramian was probably at his least effective. But it wasn't like he was bad. And again, I double down. I'm not re-signing guys who are 6 out of 10 just for the sake of it. My point is, he doesn't really let us down historically. And if he plays like that, as you say, you can't keep them all, man. And at least we do know, I would say that Michael Gabriel is a lot closer to pinning down a first grade spot than a Liam Eisen. So should they not be able to compete with other places for a contract, there is a guy coming through who should, in theory, if everything goes well, eventually get to those heights. So that's not a disaster. But again, he was almost man of the match. I think Sione was. He was almost man of the match. But his teammate, his other center guy, Iro, was destroying people. He was killing people. The most chilled person you've ever met in your life hit the white. No, what's it called when you hit the white line fever or whatever, and killed Kenny. He killed Kenny. That's the sign for you there, everyone. There you go. He killed Kenny. But overall, just fantastic. Like attack and defense. Phenomenal game from Euro.
And another guy that we've signed on a longer term deal because we think he's going to be part of the club moving forward. And I always go back to thinking about like that year he had where there were rumors that he was trying to go to Super League because he couldn't get a start in first grade. And he was so patient. The club was patient with him. And now all the rewards are coming through. I did think he was going to score on the weekend. And again, like from all my like super coach and all that type of stuff, I was pretty heavily invested in Iro having a big game. But again, a lot of the ball just went to the other side of the field, right? So it was a little bit hard for him in that perspective. But his defense was outstanding. And if that was the knock on him a few years ago, he has more than fixed that. Because some of those shots that he was putting on, but he does it with a smile too. And he does it with this like kind of jogging, like he never looks exhausted. And it's a level of fitness that I will probably never achieve in my life. I'll give that dream up. But you just look at him and you go, that guy is something else. And I don't know with the changes to Origin and eligibility, if he could now potentially qualify for someone like the Blues, because he's still young enough to make a push for that type of role. Whereas Jesse's probably a little bit too old now. He's probably missed that boat for representative football. But someone like KL, he's definitely got that in his future if he's eligible, because the performances that he puts in are second to none at the moment.
Now, man, under a lot of spotlights for different reasons, but came through pretty good, I thought. Sam Stonestreet, he was tested on the high ball a bit. He was. I'll tell you what, watching at the game, watching out of camera kind of action, he was not hesitant to attack that ball in the air. Wasn't always successful, but geez, give him credit for trying. And The thing I loved about the Stone Street game was it wasn't all flash. It wasn't all 100-meter runs, spectacular tries, etc. There was some okay defense. There was some okay kick defense. There was some good yardage, tough yardage. Didn't crack 100. Didn't matter. He was always just doing hit-ups, barely being driven back. And I thought for a first hit out, for a guy that we're a bit concerned about, I thought he did pretty good.
I thought it was probably one of his stronger performances in terms of physicality and involvement. I thought there were times last season and even in the preseason that he can just rely on his speed a little bit too much and maybe not get in there and do some of the other stuff that, Ronaldo does, for example, or Sione. But that was a really strong performance by him. In the air, he was fantastic. I think even when I was listening to the press conference and they were talking with Fitzy during the week around Stone Street, or it might have been, was it you? Did you talk to him about Stone Street?
That I was at the presser. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And he was talking about those efforts and how much better he's getting in the air and how much, his physicality is improving and his defense and everything like that. And all the reports about his speed and working with Shervington have been coming out as well. So, look, it's a real pivotal year for Sam. And again, another player off contract. And for him, he's really got to make a decision now of which way his career goes. And there are so many of these guys, and we'll keep talking about it because I'll keep coming up being off contract. But it really means a lot to this playing group that they're all together, and this could be the last chance, right? So for a guy like Stone Street, he might get squeezed out because a better offer comes along. He's still young. He's, got a lot of upside. A club might throw some serious cash at him. Didn't happen last year, but with performances like that, it could start to happen this year. So I think we're going to see a lot of these guys that kind of realize this is the last chance saloon and really digging in because it's going to be so strange. Like going to round one next year, it's not going to be this settled. So I think we've got to take advantage of it while we can. And honestly, that really came through with our performance because the Titans were a really good preseason team and we were a little bit flat. And there were a lot of people in the media that didn't tip the Sharks to win that game. And I was on here last week saying it was a grand final in a sense for the Titans. And I'd said that a few times because, to buy into what they've been doing and all the noise was so positive and hearing Gordon Tallis talk about it, he's just like, we were off on every single aspect. Like there's not one good thing that we did, right? So circling that back to Sam, he took those opportunities and he really played well. And he definitely did not look like somebody that was lost or not connected like they did.
Yeah, and I think with Sam's contract situation, the career can go one of two ways, you would think, and hopefully it's up. What's going on in his favor is he's young. He's got 10 to 15 rounds to prove himself again. There's more teams coming into the comp. There's more demand for players. I think he's going to be okay contract-wise wherever he goes. But at the moment, local junior, we like to keep him. And just on the Gold Coast, we're not here to talk too much about them, but I can tell you when I was setting up for my post-game show, Josh Hannay stayed in his coach's box for quite a while. Usually the game's over, they just up and leave, get ready to go downstairs. He was in the box for, I would imagine, it seemed like a very long 5 minutes after full time, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in that world it is, because every minute of your time is documented. We've got to get the plane in an hour, etc., etc. Press conference is soon. He sat there and he didn't look happy. I avoided eye contact. And then Scott Sattler, who I'm not, is he a CEO? Is he a chairman, CEO? He's something or other.
He's involved with the club in some aspect. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Yeah, he's high up in the admin. He was sitting like where I was setting up, and I vaguely knew him from the Fox days, but not really. But he was just staring out at the ground, almost lost himself, like just trying to work out where it went wrong. And I get the feeling they weren't expecting that. I get the feeling they thought they were a real chance, and to be blown out of the water like that, I can't imagine what that's like in round one. But we're here to talk about the Sharkies, our great halves. Trindle was amazing, 4 try assists. Nico was really, really good. I love the way Nico let Trindle play. But it's not like you didn't see Nico have a really, really good game. I thought they were both just exceptional.
I'm just looking at some stats really quickly, and it looks like Nico had like close to 100 or if not more run meters. 2 line breaks, 6 tackle breaks, 1 offload, and obviously the 2 tries, kicking 7 from 9. Like it's funny because the noise will become, oh, Trindle was great. Trindle should be 7. Nico's, what are we talking about here? Like, they're a combination. They play really well. It doesn't matter who has what jersey on. Like, at one point, I think Fitzgibbon should just put Fanua Blake in number 7 and put Nico at number 8 or whatever the case is, just to say, like, what are we doing? Talk about numbers. Like, everyone has a defined role. And those two are starting now to play some really good football together. Their combination at the back end of last year was really good. And that's when our season was turning around with our physical style of play and our halves playing really well together with Brayley. And again, we'll talk about Blake later, but we saw Blake getting out a dummy half. And it just looked like we picked up where we let off last year. Yeah. And the real test is going to come this week. And let's see how Nico goes against the Panthers. But I feel like a performance like that, when they've gone through that whole preseason, they're looking at it going, well, Penrith are pretty settled too. We know what we're going to get in Penrith. And it's a real opportunity now for Nico and Braden to stand up and go, let's go and give it to these guys, because Penrith have had the wood on us for years, right? And I'd love to get them back on.
We'll get to that. The number thing is irrelevant, because when I think of last year, I don't think of our halves losing us games necessarily. Like, maybe there was there a field goal chance in one of them? I'm not sure. But overall, I don't think of the 6 and 7 having bad years and losing us the games. It was more team efforts. It was clumsiness. It was missed tackles. I got no problem with the 6 and 7. And why would you change anything from what happened on Saturday night? Like, who cares? Like, and the coach has said it a million times, and I'm sure the players don't care. I know the players don't care about player numbers. Like, give me a break. They got so much on them in their lives and on their minds that they don't care about that stuff. But terrific performances from those guys. I was super happy with the starting rotation of Fanua Blake and Tall Tom. I think that's what we need for the moment moving forward. That may change depending on form and injuries, etc. But I thought for a round 1 against 2 really good props in the Titans, really good props, I thought that was the perfect combination. Tall Tom in the flesh looked really fit. He looks the fittest he's ever been. So good job for those guys.
I really liked Adam. I think Fitz talked about it during the week as well. Like, last year, he wanted to earn the players' respect, and he didn't want to come in and be like the man, right? He obviously wanted to be a leader, but he didn't want to come in and start talking a lot, right? Whereas in that game, there's a few moments where he really did step up and be a leader, and there was a few things that happened. If you watch off the ball, where you'll see him kind of being the one that gets everyone together and all that type of stuff. Yeah. It was interesting that he had that drop ball off the kickoff, and then again he went back and he tried to defend it, and I feel like he has been underrated as a signing, and I feel like in 6-8 months we'll look back and we'll say we had a really great year from AFB. And I think Hazleton is the man to partner him. I think the size of those two together, especially with Jesse at lock, I think is a really good combination. We'll touch on our bench a little bit later, but I feel like those two guys set a really good platform, so much so that it was just, we were able to coast off the back of it. And that's not something that we've been able to say, because sometimes when it's maybe a Kafusi with AFB or a Toby, you're getting different aspects from those players, but I just don't know. It might be like the half situation, right? Where it's like, what's the best use of these guys together? And we haven't worked it out. But I feel like Hazleton, coming off an injury-riddled year last year, and he's fit now, he's the best fit next to Fanua Blake.
I was watching his lateral defense really closely. And again, they didn't throw a lot at us, but they spent a lot of time on our line in the first half. Yeah. And he was fine. And, whether that changes this week, I can't tell you, but he looked good laterally on his own line. Blake Brayley was exceptional, very busy, half engaging the line, running a lot more, and just a terrific performance like we kind of expect now,
He should have got some penalties too, because there's a few times he jumped out and the referee was a bit gun shy, because obviously the scoreline, I think, once it gets to a certain point, you don't get the right calls, right? It shouldn't be like that, but been watching rugby league now for 35 plus years, and that's the way that it goes. Because there's a few where even Blake was laughing when he was getting grabbed by the markers, and he was literally standing there with his arms and the ball in his hand going, what are we doing here, guys? Yeah. But again, the window for Blake is open. There's an Origin jersey that he can claim this year, and he's got to get it. So really, really rooting for him and hoping that he puts in those performances and gets that jersey.
I feel like he's got it, and it's his to lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back row was exceptional without headline stats or achievements, but there was a try for Britain. Billy Burns was dangerous whenever he got the ball. Jesse Colquhoun, a really settled, solid game. Again, you won't sort of read headlines about those three, but I thought they were terrific. And Teague Wilton is week to week. He will be back soon enough. Interesting to see whether he comes straight back in or whether he's on the bench and Burns holds his spot, or even if you want to play funny buggers, and well, I guess you can't drop Britain, but we have seen Britain from the bench. The three of them won't fit. I don't even know if the three of them will fit on the immediate bench. So that's going to be fascinating. But I thought those three guys in the back row did a great job. Now, we talk about the bench. Talakai, Rudolph, Kafusi, and ULA. I felt like when... Yeah, big bench, huge bench. I like it. I felt like when Rudolph and ULA were doing their thing, we lost a bit of oomph. I liked Kafusi a lot. I thought he was the best out of those guys. Talakai was really solid. You know what you're getting. He wasn't sort of above that, but he certainly wasn't below it. Like, he was strong. But out of those guys, I thought Kafusi had the most impact from the bench.
The one thing I thought about our bench was I didn't really notice our bench. And when you look at this team and you go, what are the strengths of the Sharks? I normally say it's our bench. And I think that we can come over and topple teams from the size that we have if we get off to a good start. Like, we have a monster factory that we can just kick down any team's front door if it's rolling, right? And, you know, I definitely saw them out there and playing, and Kafusi had a couple of moments and Sifra as well, but I just didn't notice him. Like, I didn't see Toby like Toby was in the finals, for example. I didn't see ULA like he was finishing the season last year as well. And, you know, it's round one, so I'm not going to crucify anyone, and that probably would be my bench again this week, absolutely, if I was going to pick the same team. But it's going to be interesting once Wilton is back, because Burns and Wilton will definitely be fighting out for a position, and I don't think you can drop Burns. No. Burns has created a real headache in a good way around his future at the club, because he has come so far. He is Matt Pryor 2.0 in terms of getting him from the Dragons, you know, much maligned. People are like, why do we get this guy? A bit of a rocky start, but then comes through with just this intensity, and like everything that he does looks like it hurts. It looks like it's all elbows and bones, and it's going to be so interesting to see how we fit him into the 17, and then how do we then manage his future as well as the other guys on the bench, because back to the same point, all those guys on the bench besides Kafusi and now Talakai are off contract, right? So there's a lot of decisions to be made, and I know we keep saying it, but it's a fascinating situation, and I really can't wait for the day where we have a fully fit squad and to see what Fitzy does, because there's still Cam McInnes to come back into that rotation as well, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see how we balance that, because if you bring Cam in, because Cam's coming back into the 17, whether you start Cam at 13 or you have Cam on the bench, I'm not sure. But then Burns, Wilton, Nakora, what are you doing there? And then also, which props are you going to be going with? Because you're going to have to squeeze a couple out now too, right? So this 6-man bench, if we're fit, we could actually have a lot of interesting combinations that not a lot of teams are going to have that sort of depth.
And we haven't even spoken about a guy like Tuku Haitapua, who is young and inexperienced, but also on his day could be the most destructive guy on the field. Yeah. And he didn't even make the 6-man bench. So there's more out there. And there's young guys coming through. They're a little bit off. We know that, off from being ready. But the other thing on Billy Burns is I would be shocked if the Bears and PNG for a start in the next year or two don't come in with a deal twice the size of what we can offer him. And then I'd be surprised if a Melbourne Storm didn't go, come win a title with us. Like, we'll guarantee you a 17 spot. And yeah, like, you know how everyone would be amazing down there in Melbourne. I think he's got not so much the world at his feet, but I think he's in a place where he probably, maybe he thought he might be, but a lot of people didn't think he'd be. I'd fight back with you a little bit on the rocky start. I don't think he had a rocky start with us. I think he's been fine. It's gone up. I'll give you that. But I never really had an issue with him in the colours. I think the first time I saw him in the colours was like, oh, he's a lot better than what I remember.
Yeah, look, he didn't have any of those games where I would classify it like a stinker or anything like that. It was more so that he was in and out of the team. He didn't really get a rhythm with us. Whereas where Matt Pryor, when he first came across, there were some games where he ended up getting dropped into New South Wales Cup, and then he just came back a different human. So a little bit different there, I will agree. But that narrative around the chatter when we signed him from the Dragons, what
Yes.
do we do? And like, I have
Yes.
no idea what he gets paid. I have absolutely no clue what we pay Billy Burns, but it is not enough because the output that we are getting from him is tremendous. And if I am a recruitment manager in the NRL, I am going out and I am saying, let's get this guy from Cronulla. They can't keep him because we can get him for a good deal. Even if you doubled his contract, he'd probably not be in the top 30 back rowers in terms of paychecks in the NRL. And you look at some of those guys, right, that are on huge monies, the kick hours and all that type of stuff, you know, they're probably getting paid 3 times what Billy Burns is getting, right? And they're great players, no shots on them. But I'm just saying that, like, at the end of this year, he'll be 28. And I reckon if you signed him for 3-4 years, I reckon you've got a really good first grader on your hands. It's going to add to your depth. But to get him for what we've got him for the last 2 years and to be able to drop him into these situations, it's been tremendous because what's it going to look like when he's gone? We're not going to have Siffer next year as well. So who would be that next cab off the rank for the back row? Like, it's starting to get a little bit like, oh, maybe it has to be a young fella.
It might be a Hohepa. I know he's more of a lock, but he could play second row. It might be that kind of mold. The thing with Billy Burns is that a lot of people don't probably see is that off the field at training, he's very vocal. He's a character, but when it comes to training and playing, very serious. He's got the respect of the playing crew, of the trainers, of the coaches, and he's seen as very much one of our more aggressive players. So whether you see that in his game or not, watch a bit closely and you'll see it. Very much brings the aggression, which we saw late last year, and that was one of the prime reasons why Nicker wasn't rushed back in when he was perfectly fit, was because, well, not perfectly fit. He was under some injuries, but he was right to play. But they saw what Billy Burns was doing, those tough runs, the tries from 10 meters out, that kind of thing. And even just verbally, a really big mouthpiece on the field. Defensively got a lot better as the time has gone on in the system. And I think out of a lot of the guys, he's one of the more fascinating ones to watch as far as the contract goes because, very interesting given how good he's going. You hear some of the critics. I'm thinking of both the Johns brothers have spoken about him publicly. Like, he catches people's eye. So, interesting times, that's for sure. Overall, I thought for a round one game, completed 82%. Errors weren't too bad at all. It was so hot, Kieran. The humidity was ridiculous. Like, it was bordering on drinks break humidity. Wherever you went, you couldn't really escape it. And I was pretty impressed with that. Pretty impressed with discipline, that kind of thing. Overall, just, again, they didn't throw much at us, but it didn't mean we had to play so good. Like, we played an 8.5 out of 10 game overall, at least.
They scored off the kickoff, right? The Sharks, the first set of 6, scored. Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure maybe it might not have been the second, but it might have been the
second half was. Yes, so it was a couple of tries quickly. Then the second half we scored early as well.
Yeah, and again, like, just listening to the coverage on the replay, they'll talk about Hannay saying, right, like, let's start again, put that first half in the bin. I know a lot of people go, well, we should have won by 50, 60, 70 points or whatever the case is. It's really hard to do in round one. It's really hard to do when the scoreline blows out. The referee does tend to favour some of the things and puts his whistle away and all that type of stuff. But also, like, from a Sharks perspective, that was a really good hitter. Like, and we spoke about it a few weeks ago with the Canberra trial and how basically that was, you could see them, they were setting up certain plays, and you could see that again with the Titans, they were setting up certain plays. Like, when Nico went through, he put his hand in the air, not because he's like, how great I'm scoring a try, but because of the play they had set up worked. And there was a young back rower for the Gold Coast. I don't know his name, but I don't watch a lot of Gold Coast games. I always have the football on in the background, but I don't pay a lot of attention if I'm doing something else. But there was a young back rower for the Gold Coast, and the Sharks absolutely attacked him and they pulled him to pieces. And
Yeah.
he would have been at absolute 6s and 7s in his head mentally about what to do, right? But again, that level of precision comes from being together and connected for a number of years. And we're starting to see the benefits of that. So it's a long season, but the negativity about the Sharks and people saying the Sharks have got a soft draw and the Sharks won't make the 8 and all this noise, I think that was such a nice reminder to people that we're not going backwards.
No.
This game against Penrith is going to be a great test, but again, it's not going to define this season, but we can get a lot out of it with a good performance.
Let's get to that before we let you go. But on the negativity about having the same squad for so long, yes, if you're coming 8th or below, if you're coming 7th and knocked out first round, it's negative to keep the same guys. But when you're consistently in a prelim, you're consistently pushing for the top 4, you're scoring so many points, it's like breaking club records, etc. There's no real negativity there. The negativity, Kieran, I could cop is someone going, player X is having a really bad year. He's been here forever. Let him go. Okay, cool. That's fine. That's an individual effort in a group team. Having the group together, though, when they're firing like this, there's no negativity there at all. Penrith, Saturday, 7:30, Carrington Park, which is it Bathurst? Yes. And they've won 5 straight against us. And they've won 9 of the past 10. So I've done a little bit of research early on. They've won 9 of the past 10, Kieran, against us. They've never won 6 straight against the Sharkies. So let's try and hope that doesn't happen this week. Second time we're playing them in Bathurst. The last time was in 2014 where we won. 2014, winning a game. What a miracle. And that's what's going on. I've got a stat for you, though. Question, Kieran. You ready?
Hit me.
How many times, we'll say in the past, we'll go from, say, 08, have the Sharks won 2 straight games to start the season?
Oh, wow. I think we've won round 1 maybe 3 times since 2008.
So we won't include 08. We did in 08. Let's not include 08. Since then, how many times? You saying 3?
I'm going to go 2 then.
Yeah? Yeah, that's wrong.
How many?
Once, and it was recently. It was in 24.
Wow. There you
go.
We're not a good round 1 team. I know that. So there's nothing like watching the Sharkies in round 1 after an off season of hope, and then you go, "What is this?" But that was not the case this time.
So the glorious years of 99, 2000, okay year, 02, great year, 08, great year, 24, decent year, 2-0, made the finals.
Yeah.
So if we're 2-0 this week, history is on our side to make the finals, going off early. Now, let's get... Sorry, go ahead.
Just speaking of going off early, did you see that we scored like in the top 3 points for first half of the round 1 game?
Yeah.
And I think the other teams were like the Bulldogs of like 04, and I can't remember who the other team was, but they made the grand final too. And then there was like a random Cowboys team in there. That, who cares about the Cowboys? But potentially that could be an omen too.
Yeah. So tough game. I was really impressed with Penrith. I watched them fairly closely. I'm going to watch another replay this week, but the shutout the Broncos, shutout the Premiers in Brisbane. It's hard to do. It was a hot night, and they looked really good. They didn't look unbeatable, Penrith. They were just dominant, and Brisbane weren't great, to be fair. I'm not shaky in my boots playing these guys like I sometimes am. I'm actually confident that we can go up there and do a number. However, if you look at round 1, in their own way, they were just as impressive as the Sharks. They played a different sort of team, a better team. But, yeah, what are your thoughts on the Panthers? Early thoughts early in the week?
I think that a very strong squad. They've got depth coming out of everywhere. Like they've got no weaknesses in what they're actually doing. And it's a team that's really settled like us. It's a team that our guys have battled against for a number of years and gone up against and played junior grand finals against each other. And had a lot of conflict. And I was just looking at the ages of the squads and how similar they all are. But obviously, Penrith have had a lot of success in the last few years, and we haven't. To your point, I don't think I'm scared of Penrith this year compared to years gone by. There's been other years gone by where I've looked at you and said, we're no chance you see him.
Yeah.
I don't feel that anymore. I feel like they have lost some players, and I do feel we are getting better each time that we play and, as we grow as a team. I feel like we're a real shot in this one. I feel more comfortable with this game than I did with the Titans game, because the Titans game, there's so many unknowns. It's at Shark Park. Whereas this, we can bunker down, we can be the underdogs, and we can put in one of those performances that, the Sharks can put on. And I feel better when we play good teams. And I feel like this whole notion of Sharks can't win big games is just absolutely rubbish, because, again, look at the big games we've won in the last 2 years.
It's not true.
The same people that are saying this are then saying the Bulldogs are going to be great this season.
It's just if anyone says that to you, or if you hear that, just people have to know it's not true. Like, go through who we beat even just last year and the environments we did it in. It's just not true. Like, can we win a prelim at the moment? Not really, but that's it. So I'm with you. I think it'll be close. I think it could come down to things like kick defense, attacking kick tries for both teams. They both got speedy, good wingers. They're both like kicking for tries. I think we're a bit more of a flashier team with the ball, so I'm expecting us to use the ball, but I think it could come down to things like just drop balls and kick defense. I'm expecting Penrith to really be able to prove a point. I get the feeling Fitzy will be like, we're not here to prove a point, we're just here to win the game. And I can't stop thinking about the question that people keep saying to me, and it started on Saturday night and it continues every moment, is that this is a great test for us, etc. I completely agree with that. I completely agree it's a great test for us. I just worry when we start talking that way in round 2, that should the unthinkable happen and we don't get the 2 points, people, fans give up, say it's all over. Now, it depends on how one might lose a game, but I just feel like if we don't get the 2 points, and I think, as you've said and I've said it, I think we will, but say we don't, I worry about the reaction being over the top more than usual, because it's the Panthers. We can never beat them. We'll never lift, even though there's 25 more rounds to go. That's my only fear. If this was like Origin time, if this was even later, I'd be like, yeah, I completely agree. But in this case, I'm hesitant to say good test, even though I agree it is. But I think you know what I'm trying to verbalize here.
Yeah, it's not a do or die game. And at the same time, like, we're sitting here saying a win would give us a lot of confidence, but at the same time, if we lose, it's not that big of a deal. And I agree with that sentiment, because it is a tremendously long season. And if you again go back to last year, we played Penrith in round 1 in Vegas. We threw the kitchen sink at them, and then it was a little bit flat after we didn't get that game done, right?
Yeah.
And the way our season played out, that game was not a game that you looked back on and said, if we'd won that game, we would have made the top 4 and, things could have been different. We go back to games like the Brisbane game, the Canberra game, the West Tigers game, that we didn't perform and get the job done. So the real assignment for this game is, put in performances that you're proud of, stand up to them. And I think we can do that. And I was just looking through their team. I feel like our forward pack matches up really well against their forward pack now. I feel like, we've got a more creative hooker than they do. I feel they've obviously got Nathan Cleary, who is unbelievable. But if you look at our halves as a combination, if they're on their game like they were on the weekend, I think we can get that. We can get over Blaze Talangi and Nathan Cleary as a combination, not talking individual players. I'm talking a combination. Isaiah Yeo gives me nightmares. He's going to be really hard for us. And Dylan Edwards is another one too. But if you look at their centers and wingers, I don't think they've got a huge edge on us if they have one at all, because that was the talk last year, remember? The Sharks back 5 is the best back 5 in terms of meters and all that type of stuff. And it got to the point where so much noise was made about that. You could tell the Penrith back 5 took that personally. Yeah. And they came out all guns blazing against the Sharks, right? So I feel like the matchup is not the same as what it was maybe 2-3 years ago when they were really stacked. They're still stacked, and they still have Nathan Cleary, and I can't underestimate that at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like we have grown as a team. I feel like we've grown as a pack and a backline and halves and all the different combinations that we've got. And I feel we could put our hands up against anybody. And I fear, say, Brisbane more than I would fear Penrith at the moment. But in saying that, I still think Penrith is probably my pick to win the competition this year, just because they're so proven in what they do. And if the game's on the line, they'll get the job done, right? So you need to have a little bit of a buffer and not go down the wire with Penrith, because otherwise, if it's 2 points with 3 minutes to go, they're going to get you.
I think so. I like the fact that we know what they're going to throw at us, but I do worry that they're so good at what they throw at you. Like, as I said, against Brisbane, they were just dominant. It wasn't like I watched it and went, oh, they're unbeatable. Brisbane weren't very good, and Penrith were bordering on elite in what they did. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't even eyebrow raising. It was just like dominant. So you got to win that ruck. You got to win the fight, and then let the flashy guys do their thing. I think that defense will win the game. I really do. So we know we can score points. They can score points. Both got good goal kickers, etc., etc. I do think defense wins this match. And what I saw from last week, I think that the Titans threw less at us than what Brisbane threw at Penrith. But I like what I saw in defense from us. There was not a lot of chaos. There wasn't a lot of worry in what they were doing. But this will be the biggest test compared to what they experienced last week, the Sharks. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a tight one. I kind of like the fact it's in Bathurst and not Penrith. I know they'll have a lot of fans up there being in that part of the world, so it's not like it's our hometown advantage or anything. But the Sharks love a camp. They even went into camp for this game, Kieran. I don't know if you're aware of that. They went into camp for the...
they turned up on the bus.
Yeah, they. I'm not going to disclose where they stayed, but it wasn't far away. But they had an overnight. I believe I'm correct in saying an overnight camp. If it wasn't overnight, it was definitely day camp, so to speak. So yeah, that was kind of fun. I rocked up a bit before that, and I saw like Tim and Troy and a whole bunch of the Sharks media waiting, and I was like, "It's just me, guys." They were like, "Get out of here, Shanaz. The team's about to arrive." I turn around and there's the bus and everyone's getting off. I was like, okay, I get out of here. But yeah, obviously it works. Fitzy loves that sort of stuff. I know that for a fact. So obviously the players are all in and do what you got to do to win, I guess. But yeah, it's going to be a good one. Penrith, 7:30. We'll be chatting to you after the game, which will be fun. Now, Kieran, you're going to be away for a couple of weeks, all being well. And I don't know that we'll talk to you in this fashion while you're away. I'm open to it. I don't know if you'll get the chance, so we'll see how that goes. Just warning everyone, you might have a little bit of a break, but you'll be back before you know it. And any parting words, my friend? Any funny stories about mammals killing people or anything, or what do you got? Putting you on the spot.
Just trying to have a think at the moment about what's happening in my world. That's a bit strange. I've got a lot going on at the moment, but It's one of those things, right, where it's just the kids are now back at school, the football's starting up again, we're getting a routine again, like getting back in the swing of doing this on Mondays.
Yes.
I feel like the last couple of years, mate, have been all over the place, and it's now back to our little consistency, right, which is the NRL season. And, NRL 360 is on at a certain time. Different podcasts come out at a certain time, right? So it's great to be back in the swing of things and consuming all this content again. And I still get riled up when I listen to some of these people talk about our beloved Sharks, and I still go to start writing these comments, and then I delete it and say, "What are you doing, Kieran? Don't get engaged in this stuff." But that was the old Kieran. That was the old Kieran, and he got banned from a couple of things. But it's actually, we'll see how that all goes, mate. But other than that, mate, looking forward to getting back here and doing this all over again.
I got one more show to plug, which you can add to your routine, and that is Monday nights, Channel 7. I'm not sure of the time. I believe tonight might be 9 o'clock. Other people are saying 7:30, so check your local guides. But a new rugby league show on Channel 7. You heard that correctly. The Agenda Setters. Our good mate Brooksy is like the head honcho behind it. And in front of it, you're going to see friend of the show, Dave Riccio, Luke Keary, and a few other guys. So if you like your rugby league, which all of you do, give it a go and get behind two of our good mates in Brooksy and Riccio.
Just on that, Sam, I mean, it feels like a different timeline when Aaron Woods was playing for the Sharks.
I need to be careful with that sort of stuff. Terrific bloke.
But I'm just saying, he left the Sharks in 2021. That was 5 years ago.
He's done a lot in his media career since then. He's popped up in all sorts of places. He's got a breakfast gig, right? He's doing well.
Yeah, he's doing well on the radio. He's always a staunch defender of the Sharks too.
I hear what you're saying.
It just feels like because I know he's on that show, right? And I just started looking at him and just even seeing photos of him in a Sharks jersey. And I don't know if it was because he came midway through 18. It was really only 19 where he had a normal year. Then it was the COVID years.
Yeah.
Just seeing him in a Sharks jersey, I'm like, I remember it, but at the same time, it feels like a different lifetime. How was that 5 years ago? And then, all right, now you've got me on one of my tangents, mate, and I'm waking up now because my medicine that I'm on is starting to wear off. But
Beautiful.
If you look at wrestling right now, professional wrestling, right? Cody Rhodes has been back in the WWE for what, 3 years, 4 years?
Tops, I would think.
Yeah. It's kind of like the same sort of thing over there, right? But if you go back to the 90s, look at Kevin Nash. He was Diesel in 96. Then he goes and does the NWO. Then all that type of stuff happens with the Wolfpack. And then next thing you know, WCW's closed down and it's gone. And he's back at WWE. And that was in a 5-6 year time frame as well. That so much happened then. And then I look at this 5 year period and I'm going, well, what's happened? But at the same time, a lot hasn't happened.
I love that you relate time evaporating and Aaron Woods' time at the Sharks with Kevin Nash.
Well, because he's my barometer. Because I was looking at something the other day where it was the exploding death match in AEW. Remember where they had the finish with the sparkler?
One of my favorite finishes.
So that was 5 years ago on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, where has time gone? How is that 5 years ago?
Doesn't seem like 5 years. Yeah.
Well, and now we'll be doing this podcast all going well in 5 years' time. And I'll say to you, where's time gone? And how have we won 4 competitions back to back and not lost a single game?
Yeah, there were a few chants about not losing a game from here on out after Saturday night, given the ferocity with which we won. So people were very up. They were up at the ground. They were up on the show. It was a fun show. I did it with my mate Lush, who you hung out with in Melbourne last September. He was in good form. And people were very happy, which is great. Even some of the people, and I made acknowledgement of this on the post-game show, some of the people who can be a little bit critical, negative, whatever, and not negative, critical and a bit hard, they were just full of love and praise. And it was one of the easiest shows I ever got to do because it was just everything's sweet.
I did think about you when they only won by 40 points. And I thought, I wonder how many messages Sam got saying they should have won by 60 or 70.
There was a lot of that at the ground. There was a lot of that around me, don't concede. And I relate and I appreciate, but I was like, I don't mind if you score a try or two. It's not going to affect me in my life, but
it's round one.
But I respect people who think that way. I really do. And I respect people who want that shutout. I love it. I love the attitude. It just wasn't realistic given all the ball they were getting. The dummy half try was it actually is really hard to stop a dummy half try if you're not ready for it. If you think he's just going left, it's it's the easiest try to ever score in the NRL, but it's actually not that easy to stop given how close someone is to a line. So there was a lot of that going around the ground. But then when Trindle kicked the 40-20 and things came back to us for 2 tries at the end, we got the 50, everyone was stoked. That was out the window. So they kind of saved the day, I think, the Sharkies in that regard, because if they had won 38-10, you'd be like, oh, pretty good win. Let's get a bit nastier. I thought the foot was down. People were saying the foot wasn't down. I thought the foot was down.
Well, I mean, Trindle kicking that 40-20, there was 2 minutes left. That was
is that when it was?
Yeah, it was. It was right towards the end, and that's when Nico goes over and scores.
Yeah.
But Trindle's 40-20 was one of the best 40-20s I've seen him kick.
So we had the aerial shot. Obviously, you sit where I sit a lot of the time, and we had the aerial shot, and you could see him very much know that he was behind the 40. It was planned, obviously, And then you saw it go up, and Kinney was coming across, and you're like, oh, okay, it's bounced the wrong way. And people kind of like went, oh, it's a shame.
Yeah.
And then it was like whatever bounce it was, it just went doop the other way. And everyone went, oh, and everyone just went nuts like it was a try because it was such a long kick and then such a dramatic turn. And then it just didn't hit the corner post by like a millimeter or whatever. It was beautiful, beautiful.
His kicking game is so important for us this season. And it's probably the part of our game where we've struggled the most in. And if you look at how we attack, why are we talking football now when we're trying to wrap things up? But anyway, when we get down into the opposition 20, that's a lot of the time where the Sharks just don't kick the ball. And I know it drives a lot of fans absolutely insane because they play percentages and things like that. But I think Trindle set up, at least 2 tries from kicks, kicked the 40-20. And some of those times where he was putting the kicks up, he was catching the ball in bad places. Like Jesse Colquhoun gave him one ball. Like, I don't know if that was for a kick, but it was definitely for one of the tries where he caught the ball like up here. So again, that was some performance by Trindle. Like, I think I looked at Fox Sports and they do the player of the round stuff. He's winning that vote by like 20-30%.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's interesting to watch. I've noticed this for the past few years. Watch his general play kicking style. So when he catches the ball, and he kind of and for the people listening, not watching, he kind of rotates the ball in a way to bring it down to his foot. He doesn't just sort of drop it or whatever. He sort of does this thing with his hands and the ball and then kicks it. So it allows more time for the kick defender to put pressure on him. And I always get a little bit nervous with Trindle, always have, because of that fact. Now, I couldn't, maybe has he had a kick charge down? I couldn't tell you. But to my little beady eyes, when I see him kick most times, like 9 out of 10 times, I think, oh, he's going to be charged down here.
It doesn't look fluid. Like, no. And a lot of it, I know exactly that what you're saying with how he moves his body in that, but it is so effective. And also, too, I think with his body shape, and again, he's a great athlete. He's way better body than me, but he doesn't look like he's got the power in his legs that he does, because those legs can absolutely drive the ball so far. And again, with these new 6-man benches and all that type of stuff that's happening around Origin this year, he should have a real goal to try and get himself as that backup half on the bench. Obviously Dearden's going to be in the mix, and Cherry Evans is too old now, and all that type of stuff. There is going to be a spot where it's probably going to be like a Sam Walker's to grab. But if there's an injury to Sam Walker, Trindle could absolutely put his hand up. And Billy Slater has came out a number of times and spoke really highly of Trindle. And I think that's got to be the goal for him. He's got to get himself into that squad somehow this year. And it would be so good for his development. And the famous last words I've said now, because I've said that, it might be another Nico Hines situation, and then we all go crashing down and everybody sends hate mails to me and says, why did you curse us like Danhausen?
Wow, look at you. You're back. He's on the road. We're on the road and you're back. A little in-joke for everyone who watches the Squared Circle. The Danhausen entry reveal,
Flat.
6, 7. I think the fact he's a Queenslander, not Danhausen, but Trindle, will give him a big chance to be in that squad. They're very welcoming over the whole Origin history. They're always welcoming younger guys who they have an eye on, who they think could be something in the future for them. So I think he will, if he keeps going like this, will be in that squad of extended guys hanging out and getting experience. And you never know, you're luck in a big town. If someone gets a slight injury, he might get a go at some point. But I think the fact he's a Queenslander actually helps him, because New South Wales are a bit more hesitant. Obviously, Cleary's just locked in, etc. So, hopefully we're still talking about him in these glowing terms. Kieran, we will talk to you another time. Not sure when, but it'll be as soon as we can. That's for sure. Have a safe trip, and appreciate you jumping on. I know it's a very busy day for you. Everyone else, stay tuned. We got more shows coming up for you. Big week, big Panther review week, etc. And drop us a line, sharkcastpod@gmail.com, social DMs, sharkcast.com.au. You can leave us a voicemail, or you can just drop us a message, which is effectively an email. Tell us what you're thinking. Who would you pick? Who wouldn't you pick? What you liked on the weekend? What you didn't like on the weekend? What you're thinking about the upcoming game? Get in touch with us. We want to read out your stuff on air. Until then, thank you for everything. We appreciate you. Huge weekend on SharkCasts on the weekend, Kieran. Like the Instagram, for example, in all seriousness, like the numbers were like, I looked at the numbers. I was like, what the hell?
Hey, your Instagram. I remember I looked at it. I think maybe this time last year. I think there was about 400-500 followers, something like that.
Mm.
I think it's now like way over 1,000, maybe even
Well,
1,500. So
it's not even that without getting too
I think you talk
stats
about views and
wise.
things like that.
Yeah, like it's like I looked at it, I saw a number and I was like, that can't be me. So it's very cool. So thanks everyone for your support.
Yeah,
Really
awesome.
appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. This has been SharkCast Pod. Catch up with Kieran over coffee about Cronulla with the great Kieran Fraser, who's about to go scull 40,000 Guinnesses if he knows what's good for him, or if he doesn't. Hopefully he doesn't. We'll talk to you soon. What a great Monday. Up. Let's go.